world of fitness gurus, trainers, and tons of information, myself, Chrissie Sansevier, co-host Chris Marzarella, and comedian and producer of the show, Sean Malloy, break down the real and raw of a fitness-based lifestyle with plenty of tips and insights to achieve today's ultimate fitness lifestyle. Consistency, variety, and convenience all have to come together to help create this listening experience. I'm a NASM certified functional trainer and a corrective exercise specialist. I am also a licensed massage therapist in New Jersey for these past 20 years. My co-host Chris is a USAPL powerlifting coach, as well as an ACSM personal trainer and physique coach. Together, we all blend our contrasting fitness ideas and come to you with industry knowledge, integrity, and much needed humor in today's fitness normal. So welcome into your fitness lifestyle podcast. Welcome back to the Fitness Lifestyle Podcast. I'm your host, Chrissie Sansevier, and I am here with Sean O'Matic.
Woo!
Woo!
I get 2 claps and a Ric Flair.
And Mr. Marzarella is out today. So so the Olympics just ended, and we're glad you guys are joining us today. We want to chat a little bit about our favorite Olympic sports. I don't know about you guys, but I remember when I was little, it was like a big deal to sit down, to have the whole family sit down and watch Olympics together. Like, it was huge. I remember the winter sports. My mother loved the ice skating, and my dad always liked the skiing. So that was big. And I was into more of the summer because being a runner, I was into who was going to finish the marathon. Not that I would watch the marathon the whole time, because that's boring as hell.
I don't even think they broadcast the whole marathon anymore.
They just show the highlights of it. But and I've watched beach volleyball since it came into play in 1996. So, well, we're gonna have Sean talk about gymnastics. So, Shauna, why don't you take it away? Give us the history and what you got.
So I've always been fascinated with gymnastics. I competed as a gymnast as a child, went to states and regionals, and then I stopped when I got into middle school because I decided I didn't want to wear a leotard anymore. And that's when I got into wrestling and ended up wearing a leotard anyway, but that's besides the point. To this day, watching the gymnastics and the high-flying, super risky, aren't falling of it has always really captured my imagination, even still. So I wanted to give you guys a little bit of the history, and then we'll talk about what went on during these Olympic Games, because there's some big storylines out of gymnastics for sure. So gymnastics was introduced into Greek civilization to facilitate body development through running, jumping, swimming, throwing, wrestling, and weightlifting. So not really looking anything like gymnastics as we know it now, but that's where the word comes from. And the actual Greek word gymnasium means literally to exercise naked.
Are you kidding?
No, that's literally what it means.
Wow. Why does that not surprise me?
What's that?
Why does that not surprise me?
Oh, because the Greeks were freaks.
Yeah,
that's why.
That's awesome.
So the Romans, after conquering Greece, developed the activities into more of the formal sport that we know today. And they used gymnastics physically to prepare their legions for war and warfare. And with the decline of Rome, however, gymnastics interest dwindled, and tumbling kind of became the remaining form as a form of entertainment from that era.
Wow.
So by the 1700s, Frederick Ludwig Jahn of Germany developed the side bar, the horizontal bar, the parallel bars, and the balance beam, and also jumping events. And he, more than anyone else, is considered the father of modern gymnastics, And with the opening of his school in Berlin to promote that version of the sport, that's where clubs started to pop up around Eastern Europe and later England, where the sport really started to grow. For the United States, the sports was introduced by Dr. Dudley Allen Sargent, who taught gymnastics in universities at the time of the Civil War, and is credited with inventing more than 30 pieces of apparatus. But
Wow.
most of the growth of gymnastics in the United States centered on European immigrants coming and bringing the sport over around the 1880s.
Wow. I didn't know any of that. That's awesome. Very interesting.
So, so for uh, so for the Olympic Games and Olympic gymnastics, as we're talking about, it was men's gymnastics was on the first schedule of the modern Olympic Games in 1896, and it's been continually on the Olympic agenda since 1924. Uh, the women's competition began being included in 1936 with the all-around competition, and in 1952, the competitions for the separate events, like the vaults, the floor, all of that, etc., was added as individual competitions as well.
Wow.
In the early Olympic competitions, the dominant male gymnasts came from Germany, Sweden, Italy, and Switzerland, which are countries where the sport first developed. And then by the 1950s, Japan and the Soviet Union and the Eastern European countries that dominate now started to get more prominent. So modern gymnastics gained a lot of popularity because of the performances of Olga Korbut in from the Soviet Union in the 1972 games, and Nadia Comaneci, who's still one of the most well-recognized names of the sport. That's when television coverage of the sport began to increase. And on a personal note, if you look up Olga Korbut's old uneven bar routines, you'll see some insane things in that are literally illegal today because they're way too dangerous.
Really?
And yes, Google Olga Korbut's uneven bar routines, and you'll see some absolutely crazy shit that you will never see today.
How do you spell our last name? Oh, I see.
K, yeah, yeah. Check that out at some point.
I'm gonna have to for sure. Wow.
Oh.
Safety is the most important thing. I don't care what
So-
sport it is. It's totally safe,
So in the modern international competition, gymnastics has six events for men and 4 for women. The men's events are the rings, the parallel bars, the high bar, the pommel horse, the vault, and the floor exercise. And then for women, there is the vault and the floor exercise. Although the women's floor exercise has, you may have noticed, music accompanying it, and they're kind of choreographed to that, where the men doesn't have music. So that's the difference there. And the women also have uneven bars and the balance beam, which I think is the most dramatic sporting event I've ever watched, is women's balance beam. It's just so high risk. You're always freaking out. Are they going to fall on any given part? And it's so nerve wracking and suspenseful to me. It's the best and the worst.
Yeah, I as a spectator, you're like nervous for them.
Oh yeah, you're like, don't fall.
Oh, yeah, and if they fall, it breaks your heart.
Oh
It doesn't
yeah.
matter what country they're from, too. It's like it really breaks your heart. You're like,
Yeah, they've been working their whole lives, especially because women in gymnastics typically have a really young peak age. You see a lot of them could be 15 or 16 years old and not make it back to another Olympics. It's crazy.
That is crazy. That's insane, actually.
So let's see. So the modern scoring system I wanted to talk about because it confuses some people, because it's not on a 1 to 10 scale anymore. You start with a difficulty score that can be higher or lower depending on what you put in your routine and how difficult the judges think those components are. So you're starting with all the gymnasts having different difficulty scores, and then you get a 0 to 10 execution score where they take deductions from a perfect 10 based on missteps that you make in your routine. So example, a small step on the landing is minus 1/10. A big step or a hop is minus 3/10. Um, Same with a step out of bounds. And then there's a dreaded full point deduction for a fall. So some great moments in the past that really stood out to me is when Nastia Lukin and Sean Johnson won gold and silver in the all around in 2008 in Beijing. I was young then. I remember being really hyped up to see two Americans, over all the Russians and all of that.
Yeah, seriously.
And then not an American, but on the men's side in 2016, when King Kohei Uchimura defended his gold in the all-around competition, and he cemented his status as the greatest male gymnast of all time because he got gold in 2012, 2000, and 2016 to go along with silver in 2008.
Wow.
So yeah, he always kind of captured my imagination, even though, there haven't been really any great American gymnasts, I'm sad to say, or male gymnasts during my lifetime, but to see a all-time great like that from Japan, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So these Olympics, now I have to address the elephant in the room. There's a massive shadow cast over them by Simone Biles pulling out an all but one event. By pretty much anyone who knows what they're talking about, she's considered to be the greatest gymnast of all time.
Why is that? Is she just that good? Like,
She's that ridiculously good and dominant, and even without, even with only competing in one event, basically, she's already tied, I think, the record for medals by a female gymnast. And what she does is so much more difficult and executed so perfectly. It's just on another level than anyone else.
for her.
So
Far between that happens. It's amazing.
And I would, because on the one hand, I was super disappointed that she pulled out because I wanted to see the greatest do what she does. But my personal thoughts on it is that she made the right decision for herself and her team. I mean, when you watch that first vault that she did, you watch her eyes go wide as she loses place of where she is on her landing. And gymnastics isn't like another sport where if you're having an off day, you're not risking like a catastrophic life-changing injury.
Got it.
You
Yeah.
know? So
Yeah.
you don't want to put on that perspective, you don't want to risk the rest of your life when you're not ready to go. As disappointing as it is, and I'm sure as heartbreaking it was for her. She had what's called the twisties. That's the gymnastics term they use, and it's where you lose all sense of direction when you're in your flips and can't figure out where you are for your landing. So yeah, despite the fact that that's super dangerous for her, if she was going to land like she did on that vault on the rest of her apparatus, she was going to be hurting the team because the US team is so strong that if she's not at 100%, they can put someone in. And they did still win a silver medal, and I thought that took a lot of resilience for the team.
Yeah.
And also the fact that she came back to do the balance beam where there isn't as many crazy flips and stuff that she could get hurt doing if she has the twisties. I thought that showed a lot of resilience from her as well to come back the last day. She had a ton of balls to come back and do that after what she had been going through.
Absolutely.
So still the greatest gymnast of all time. I think she really is a role model for a lot of people that are dealing with mental health issues that
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Sometimes, like, you know, sometimes, you can fight through certain things, but sometimes you do need to like take the break to get yourself right, especially if you're putting yourself in harm's way. And
What is she? What mental illness is she suffering? What is she? Depression?
I don't know what what it is, but she's just said that what's going on is in her head with the twisties. And not, yeah, and all of the pressure that's put on her probably has something to do with that.
Absolutely. How old
But
is
like
she? Young. How old is she? She's what?
24.
That's. I mean, the whole. You think of it this way: the whole quote unquote world is watching you. I can't. I don't know. I can't imagine. I definitely I give props to all of them, but I can't imagine. You're expected to win. Like and if you don't feel that in your heart, or you're nervous at any point, or some depressed or scared, or any type of anxiety fills you up, it's like
And I'm
I
like,
can
there,
only imagine.
I think there's so much pressure on her too that it's probably not even like that enjoyable anymore. I know in one interview someone asked her what her favorite part of, like, you know her last several years in gymnastics were, and she answered, honestly, my time off. Like,
Really? Yeah, because
yeah.
it's got to be met. There's no way around it. It has to be that mentally. It has to be that mentally taxing. And that's the thing. And like you mentioned earlier too, she's a single person. It's not a team. It's not like
Well,
the volleyball team, the 6 people on the volleyball team. It is
well,
hard.
they're working like separately together,
Right. Yeah. But it's
because
look.
their scores get added and there's camaraderie and you're training together and helping each other on different moves. So there is like a team camaraderie, but it's not the same, to your point, as working together like on a volleyball situation or basketball or something.
Exactly.
But
Absolutely.
a lot of people are uh, going really hard at her that she's not mentally tough, that she gave up on her team, and that's just not personally the way I see it, because like we talked about, it's not a team sport in that sense. She could really hurt herself and she could really hurt the team if she's not right.
Agreed.
Um, so I thought, despite the Biles storyline, though, there were some great moments for Team USA, particularly highlighted by Suni Lee becoming the 5th US gymnast in a row to win gold in the women's all-around final. It's pretty awesome that we have that streak going. Uh, it's gonna mean big things for her. It's just generally awesome. And then another great story was Jade Carey, who misstepped during the vault event final and was in tears because she had a really good shot at the podium when you look at her difficulty score, but she messed up her steps. And that's happened to me when I was a kid doing gymnastics too. It's brutal. And to have that happen one day and the next day come back and throws down a gold medal floor routine, I thought was an incredible comeback story as well, and showed absolute nerves of steel.
Yeah, for sure. That is pretty amazing.
Yeah, so there's still some really good highlights, and that's why I've always enjoyed gymnastics, is these great storylines of individual greatness and feats, and the fact too that there's such a variety in how the different apparatus work, and it's so intense. Like, you're going, oh, stick the landing, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall.
And the audience, everybody's all quiet, you know, which
Oh
I
yeah.
can imagine that's got to be that much more intensive. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah, exactly. It's not like crazy cheering in the stands. Although you do hear, what's it? They didn't have anyone in the stands at any of the games because of COVID, but you do hear their teammates yelling like, "Oh, come on, Suni, you can do it!" It's literally just the other like 4 girls that are on your team that are there yelling at you.
somebody's got to be there for him. You got to have
Yeah,
some kind of cheering section. Oh, that's pretty.
right. Yeah, it was cute.
That's cool.
But
No, I do remember, just to throw this in, I mean, I remember in elementary school with that horse. When
Yeah.
gymnastics, I think of me scared as hell to do that horse. I would run up to it, I put my hands on it, and I'd be like, stop. And I could never do it. Never do it.
I have a funny story about that too. So I did competitive gymnastics as a kid.
Right.
And if you look at the vault now, it's kind of rounded and has a wide base and is like flat on the top. It's almost like scooped a little bit like that. So that was a change that was being made. And my gym that I trained at didn't have that. It had the old horse, which looked literally like the pommel horse. It's a long rectangular thing. So we get to our first competition of the season, and I see this new thing that I've never used before. I'm looking at it just like in fear.
You're like, no.
And I was supposed to do a handspring off of it, and I literally ran up, messed up my steps, and like kind of squatted over it. And my coach was just like, "What the fuck was that?"
Was that your only attempt on it, or did you like keep trying?
No, you get one try. That's like what happened to Jade Carey. She screwed up her one attempt, and you don't have another shot.
Yeah, like you're saying, you messed up. I could see that. You mess up your steps, forget it.
Yeah,
but all that pressure on you, all the pressure on them, it's intense. That's why I've always said it's just so amazing. Every athlete that goes to the Olympic Games is just so impressive to me. Mentally, physically, you have to be super, super strong. You have to.
And it's so much pressure because it's once every 4 years. In this case, 5 years.
I know.
You never know if you're going to get back to that point, what could happen with injuries. So it's amazing. There's nothing like the pressure of the Olympic Games, really.
No doubt about it. That's awesome. So
yeah, so that's what I got for gymnastics. Why don't you tell me a bit about your favorite sport, volleyball, correct?
Yeah. So I love volleyball in general. Let's be clear on that. But I especially love beach volleyball. It's outside, it's on the sand. I played when I was a kid, I played volleyball, like we played in school, and it was indoors, but I got like fairly decent. I'm not a big person by any stretch. I'm like 5'4", where all your spikers and the front net people are like usually 6 foot plus. But I was always like a good dig, so I'd come from the back. But I started playing volleyball in school, and then I really got into beach volleyball. And I remember asking about, I think it was in like middle school. I don't want to date myself, but beach volleyball wasn't in the Olympics. Okay. So I remember asking, I was like, I watched the regular volleyball. I remember asking, I was like, why isn't beach volleyball in the Olympics? And they just didn't make it a sport then. So anyway, long story short, in 1996, beach volleyball was introduced into the Olympics. So that's interesting because that really, for such an older sport, that really inherently is not that long ago at all. It originated, not surprised at all, in Hawaii in 1915. And they started playing it more so in Europe. So the Europeans, and again, Europe has been around a lot longer than the United States of America. So that is understandable. They catch on pretty quick over there. So in 1996, it came to the Olympics. It was a big deal. I remember being super excited about it, super excited. And the difference between that and regular volleyball is you only have 2 people on a team on the court. So you got 2 and 2. So technically there's a total of 4 people, where normally in volleyball you have 12. So you have two people on the team, and in the like in the front, you have that front net. Those are your spikers, and then in the back, you have your dig, right? Your dig people. So let's talk about the equipment that is used for the game, okay? The net itself measures 7 feet and 11 inches from the ground, okay? And that's for the males. And for the female matches, it's 7 foot and 4 inches from the ground. So I don't know really if those extra 7 inches really make that big of a deal, but there's some really tall women out there. I know Kerry Walsh Jennings, she's like 6'2".
What was the name of the girl on the team this year with April Ross? She was pretty damn tall too.
Kleinman? Let me see. Yeah, April Ross and Alex Kleinman.
Yeah, Alex Kleinman. She's really tall too.
She's super tall. Yeah, she's like 6'2" too, it says here. So she's super tall. But they actually took the gold at the Olympics this year.
Yeah, I remember watching it. It's a huge deal because April Ross in her own right is one of the greatest beach volleyball players ever, but had always been, the bridesmaid, not the bride, because Kerry Walsh Jennings and Misty May Trainer were the goats.
Exactly. So she always basically took a back seat for a very long time. You know what I mean? Actually, I read that Kerry Walsh Jennings at one point did train with Ross. So, they trained together.
That makes sense because their team together would probably be amazing.
Oh, 100%. That would probably be like a dream beach volleyball team. Seriously.
Do you know why they never like competed together? I
don't. I mean, I'm sure that we could definitely like check it out and see. But I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think when Kerry Walsh was with Misty May Trainer, I think that's kind of like creates a bond for them, and it's
they won they won 3 Olympic gold medals together.
Exactly. So it's like, how do you kind of screw with that? You know what I mean? Even though, truth be told, April Ross is amazing. I mean, she is. There's no doubt about it. So the ball basically is like 10 ounces. It's super, super, super light. And it's usually yellow and white. Sometimes orange, but it's yellow and white, just so they can see where the ball is on the court. So that was important, and that was interesting to me. So initially, when it first came out, and I need to share this is very interesting to me. When this sport came out in 1996, they wore long sleeve tops, okay? And they wore either shorts with the long sleeve tops or one-piece bathing suit. Okay, that's when it first came out, 1996. That really, let's be honest, was not really that long ago, right? Okay. So now we have lighter clothing. We no longer have short sleeve shirts. We no longer have shorts. We no longer have one-piece bathing suits, but we have bikinis, which I'm not like some weirdo feminist at all. Like, I'm really not. Like, whatever is whatever. But I personally think, because I was having this conversation with my friend the other day, if the women are wearing bikinis and wearing next to nothing, how is it that men have their shirts on with the shorts? Like, I don't get it. Like, if we're gonna be like really revealing in that regard, I mean,
I think
I'm a little bitter. I'm slightly bitter. Not bitter because women are wearing bikinis, but bitter because why do they not have their shirts off? Men will grow with their shirts off all the time, dude.
We know why, because in the women's side, they're selling sex appeal.
Well, what about me? About me and the sex appeal that I want to see. How does that work?
It's the patriarchy. What can I tell you? Like, not that I'm a feminist or anything, but this is the reality of it, is that the women's side they're selling sex, and the men's side they're not, because that's how things go in the world.
It's definitely, I have to be honest, that's something I've thought about a lot, and I fight it. I fight it
I
because
thought,
I want the women of the world to see,
in fact, I think there was a few different teams this Olympics, like one of the handball teams, maybe one of the gymnastics teams. I'm not sure if volleyball too, but some different women's teams were wearing different uniforms to fight against the sexualization of their athletes.
the Norwegian women, the Norwegian women's volleyball team.
Oh yeah, they did.
Yeah,
Okay,
there was like a big deal about that, actually.
good for them.
I mean, it was something that I thought would be like a little ridiculous. Like, let's share the wealth.
You want it to go the other way.
I don't know, but I was thinking, I mean, like when the men's the swimming, like they're not wearing shirts, they're swimming. I understand, get it. I totally get it.
Well, the big thing with the swimming is they're always upgrading and making crazy new material for that so that they could swim faster.
Right.
That's why like the records keep getting broken, because the part of it is the athletes training, part of it is maybe doping, and
Yeah,
but
seriously.
a lot of it is definitely the improved gear for swimmers. I know that's like a huge thing.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I wanted to real quick to talk about the rules, the actual rules of the game, not the clothing that they wear. So, as a court sport, beach volleyball involves a number of strict rules. They're strict too. So, players are allowed to touch the ball 3 times maximum before they return the ball to the other side. So you're going to get, so let's say if the other team is going to try to spike the ball, if she can either, the front player can block it, or if it ends up being like a low, then you can kind of have a dig on it to pull it up, or they'll bump it and then they'll kind of toss it over. It's really, I love watching it. I get excited. But again, I'm like a volleyball weirdo junkie, so it's interesting. So players are permitted to cross below the net in beach volleyball. You're allowed to cross, but this will be classed as a foul if it tampers or interferes with the opposing team's play. That's interesting because in regular volleyball, you can't go under, over the net at all. That's totally out of the question. The only time I think that you would actually go under the net is if you're too close up for a dig. I'm trying to think. That would probably be. I'm sure there's other reasons for it, but if a ball is spiked and you're too close to the net for a dig, that's the only reason I would think that the player would go under the net.
Yeah, the only reason I could think is sometimes when they spike it into the block will go right into the net and the ball will roll down the net. And then you can dig it, you can dig it up that way. But then you only have one more hit. So that's really like a save scenario. You're not really gonna be on the offensive from that.
No, not at all. Not at all. And the good thing, another rule and of beach volleyball, and I think it's great, is being that there's only 2 people, you play the court. If you're playing like indoor volleyball, you've got those 6 players. You kind of like you're playing your field. You know what I'm saying? You're playing your specific area. Whereas beach volleyball, you got 2 people. Both people are digs. Both people are,
You have to do everything.
Yeah, there's no other way around.
And you have to have great range. You have to be comfortable playing at the back of the court, at the front of the court.
Yeah.
You have to be comfortable, doing all 3 things: digging, bumping, setting, spiking.
Yeah, it's really an intensive sport. I mean, and I know just from playing myself, I mean, as a runner and like a weightlifter, and I do all kinds of cross training. If I play, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours of beach volleyball, I am sore as hell in spots that you would never even like believe. Like my forearms are sore from digging, my calves are sore just from digging into the sand. My hamstrings are sore from when you're coming down into a squat and coming up out of the sand. It's crazy. Your shoulders, your deltoids, your anterior deltoids get very, very sore. It really, if you're really strong enough in the core, your top abdominals, they all can be sore as well. It's just a lot of like, you're falling into sand. It's not like you're gonna fall into like the court, you're falling into sand. So if you fall, it's not that big of a deal.
Right, it's more forgiving.
It's way more forgiving. That's why I like it so much, because you could just like totally dig and fall into the ground, and I don't know, it's very
Not worried about it.
very exciting. So I wish, and if I was tall enough, I would have loved to play beach volleyball. Would have loved it. I play regularly here at home, but I'm only 5'4". I don't know where am I gonna go with that, I mean, where am I going at 5'4"?
I mean, April Ross isn't that tall, right?
No, Misty May Trainer wasn't that tall either.
Yeah.
And then they were like, if I'm not mistaken, like, well, in retrospect, like 5'7". I mean, to me, 5'7", 5'6". That's taller than me still. So, but
Not by much though.
not by much. But
the dream is still alive, Chrissy.
Yeah, not even. I'm not gonna say how old I am now, but yeah. So congratulations to the women's volleyball team, USA, winning the gold, Kleiman and Ross. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome.
It was.
So. They looked dominant on their way there too.
Yeah.
They were so good.
They play really, really well together.
I think they're saying Kleinman too originally wanted to be on the indoor team and couldn't realized she wasn't going to make it, so she changed over to beach volleyball. And I don't think she's been doing it that long. She's made a crazy quick transition.
Yeah, well, it says I don't know. I didn't get that. I didn't see that, but I don't doubt you at all, for sure. It says that Kleiman and Ross met at a country music festival. The stage festival, yeah, in 2017, and they just started playing together. That's kind of cool. How do you just walk up to somebody and be like, "Oh, you play beach volleyball? Like, let's play."
Oh, you're tall.
Yeah, like, oh, you want it? I'm training for the Olympics. You want to be on my team? So, oh wait, I have to. Excuse me. Kleiman is 6'5". Carrie,
oh my god.
Too. I apologize. Wow. And she was a star indoor player. 6'5". A woman 6'5". God bless her. That's like.
She's gonna be crazy good for a long time.
Wow, that towers over me. That's unbelievable.
That towers over me.
Towers over a lot of men, I think. Be like looking up at her. So yeah, that's what I got. It's pretty much my favorite sport, and I'm gonna miss it for the next 2 years. Let's just hope that COVID ends soon, so we can watch it on its regular year. I have my nephew asked, he's like, why does it say 2020? He's like, isn't it 2021? I'm like, you are smart.
Yeah.
We're behind here.
It is the 2020 Olympics happening in 2021.
I know.
You know what's crazy? The next Olympics that we have is 6 months from now. In February 2022 is the Winter Olympics, which are going to be in Beijing, just like the 2008 Olympics were.
Wow. I hope everything flies the way that I hope it flies.
That's a good point.
Seriously.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer here, but
You're being a realist.
being
Is
real, it's their variant. Let's see. Let's
let's,
hope
let's
that
hope.
it's not nearly as obnoxious as the initial onset of it. What do you think? What do you think, Sean? What have you heard?
I am not a epidemiologist, so I am not going to make any predictions.
I know, but what you can, your opinion on it, I think we might have to wear masks again. We'll have to see.
I would be fine with wearing masks again. I would not be as cool with the shutdown again.
Agreed.
This is crazy.
It's totally crazy.
It's went on long enough. So get your vaccines if you haven't, and if you have to wear masks, just do it.
Agreed.
Because let's not do whatever we have to keep from shutting down again. As long as we don't shut down again, we'll be cool.
Amen. Amen to that. I just went to a Guns N' Roses concert, and I was so excited to be in a stadium listening to an amazing band. I really was. Like, I stood up for a moment. I was like, I'm so grateful that this is actually happening.
Yeah, I'm so happy for you that you got to go out to that and have a great time.
Yeah, it was a good show.
That's it. It must have been your first concert, right, in years.
Well, yeah, the last concert I went to, I saw Government Mule at PNC in the summer of 2019, July. It was like July 5th. I only know because I went with a bunch of good friends, but yeah, 19. So yeah, and I'm a huge concert person, huge. So I was like, I was itching to go,
Oh yeah.
I was like dying. I've got so many ticket stubs. So but yeah. So guys, thank you so much. I just wanted our little bit of banter there about COVID. Put in our 2 cents. Thanks for listening. Check us out next week, and we'll see you guys on the flip side. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye, guys.